tonight. Is there a further discussion before voting? Wayne?
Well, I don't have a problem with Walter's motion. I don't see any problem with the priorities list whatsoever. His motion is to accept the report. The priorities list is part of the report. To continue working with staff in the direction that's necessary. Any major project, if there's money that has to be spent for it, is going to have to come to council for approval anyway. And so that, I think, eliminates any problem right now. If you brought up the 3rd Street Bridge situation, and if suddenly they came back to council and said they wanted to put the bridge in, the council would have to approve it. And so that doesn't really weigh in on this particular report. I think we need to just go ahead and move forward, accept this report. And thank you very much. You've done a great job, and especially on the small scale priorities, let's move forward with some of this. So let's vote on it.
Does anyone need this? Yes, Sue.
Well, I wanted to clarify a little bit, maybe what Walter's motion was. I see there could be a little confusion in the wording of the accept the Paradise Path Task Force's priorities list, not making it that it's not the council goal list, it's their priorities list, and they've worked really hard on it. I don't necessarily want to send them back to all the other commissions, because it sounds like they have worked with all the other commissions, and that's how they've come to a consensus of these priorities. So I'm in favor of accepting the report. I'm in favor of recognizing their the task force priorities list, and those things that Walter brought up that are major medical that would have to come under the multimodal transportation plan, that those would be looked at in that and taken into consideration when they're making the plan. And I'm sure those people, the consultants that we're employing, will definitely look at those situations, tube tunnel under Mountain View or something like that, to see the feasibility of it, and we will get a report on that. But yes, I would agree to go ahead on the small scale priorities in conjunction with Public Works Department, because some of it, as our recent most common phrase is low-hanging fruit, but I wouldn't want to paint things on somewhere where it's going to interfere with a future transportation plan. But paint's cheap. We can always, move it. So I want to recognize all the hard work they did, because it takes a long time to get a lot of different commissions together to look at all the possibilities, and everybody's got their pet project. And you've pointed out some things that are, like, duh, why didn't we think of that? So I really am. So I will vote for the motion.
Okay. Other discussion, Tom?
I think we can move forward with this, and I think that one of the things we should also move forward with is trying to figure out the true cost of what it would take to get under the Highway 8 at Steiner, because I think that that's a very doable project. I don't think it's $1 million, although a lot of underpasses are in that $1 million range. But we don't have to dig any new. We don't have to dig up the road or anything. We can just work towards
no fiber optic.
There's no fiber optic involved.
There is fiber optic in the path, though.
On the other side, on the path. So I do think we should even start looking at, the feasibility of the cost. I'd like to really narrow in on that and see what could happen, because I think that that's a very doable project, and I'd like to see us move forward. With the permitting, trying to figure out what it would take to get it permitted from a stream channel perspective and so forth. So, I think that the motion that's on the table allows us to start looking realistically at implementing these projects.
Sounds like Bill has something to add, too. I know his name was uttered early on, and you're a bicyclist and runner. And
just to clarify on the Steiner project, and I don't think Mike mentioned it, the students did do a cost estimate for that underpass work, and I think it was about $68,000 just for $68,000 just for the underpass portion of the Steiner and White.
Mike stresses it's students.
We haven't built anything around here for $68,000 in years.
That's not counting the consultant.
Am I able to?
No, sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
I just was going to say the students did cost estimates in a variety of ways, and when they did, I believe that cost was around 68 to 100,000 or something. And when they looked at another way they did cost estimates, which is one that I think Walter might be more happy with, is by asking other people what it cost them. And so they called 3 different locations, what was your retrofit cost? And that was between $200,000 and $300,000.
I just used the million to get everybody's attention.
Wait, you know what? We've let everybody else talk here. Did you have something to add to this before the council votes?
Looks like he does. He's in the perch chair.
I just wanted clarification on the motion. Are we just accepting the report as if we're handing it to you, or are you accepting the priorities as part of that? If I understood you right, you're not accepting the priorities, you're just accepting the report from us. Is that correct?
Walter, you want to clarify your motion, please?
My motion meant that we accept the priorities as the Paradise Path Task Force priorities and encourage them to move ahead with whatever cooperative efforts they need to make with commissions, engineering, et cetera. I specifically did not make it a motion to be the council's priorities.
If I may.
Yes,
For
Gary?
a point of clarification, then, it's not in your motion that the council adopt those priorities.
That is correct.
Right. Okay, thank you.
That was my question. Okay.
Okay. Tom?
So, this is where it'd be nice to have Elisa here, because my question has to do with trying to find funding. Does the motion allow us to say that we've narrowed this list from 21 to 5, and we can move forward with getting these things? That to me would be very helpful, and maybe a funder would find that helpful too. And I just want to,
If I may,
Please.
Paradise Path Task Force can do that, as far as I'm concerned, within their list of however many they had down to 5. Elisa, in terms of writing a grant, is going to come back to us for permission to apply anyway.
so we can,
Correct,
at
Gary?
that point,
We have a process.
at that point, we can say, yeah, this is what we okay, I'm fine then.
Yeah, just for clarification, though, the Paradise Path Task Force and other volunteer commissions are advisory to the city council. They are not advisory to city staff to give directions on what grants to pursue, et cetera. And so that's why, from my view at least, some greater authority to pursue these granted by the majority of this council would be helpful for what we do next. And if the council desires additional information delivered directly to it, perhaps through one of the council committees, we could arrange for that.
I understand where you're coming from, Mayor. I've heard about this for now 30 minutes. I am not prepared personally to vote to greenlight any of this, other than it's a lot of work. I appreciate what commissions do. If you got to know that, and don't want to do anything to slow them down or discourage them from continuing. But I don't have enough information to vote on a $68,000 project, much less whatever the other number was, $500,000 project tonight.
Right.
So this is to allow it to continue. A question, I don't know if it's a question for Gary, but a comment, and Gary can comment if he wishes to. Commissions that wish to pursue grant opportunities can work with staff, and staff and admin will work out what needs to move and what steps to make it go forward. It doesn't have to come to the council first to say they're green-lighted to go tell Alyssa to do a grant application. We have applications come for grants all the time that are generated by not only staff but by commissions and other entities, and it seems to work.
Gary?
We do have a grants process, and the grants process is that when an idea for a grant is discovered, then it is forwarded to Elisa for a quick vetting, so she will do a minimal amount of research. The grant application or approval form will then be filled out. She and I will staff the grant if it appears that, and get additional information. If it appears that it has a possibility for a positive outcome and it meets the needs for which it's being requested, then we typically will do more research on it, or Lisa will, then we prepare it to come to council. So there is a process all the way through. It's not as simple to call Elisa up and say, okay, I want to apply for this grant. We do have a process in place.
And
Walter?
and if at any stage of that you've got doubts that the council will approve it, you bring it to us early, I presume, to get a reading.
If I may.
Please.
Absolutely. We want to utilize our time as efficiently as possible, and if it's a situation where it needs council approval, if it's one of those types of grants that takes a lot of match or something like that, or maybe it's not a council priority, of course, we'll bring it to the council for their direction on it, and then we'll proceed from there.
Gary, that caveat about whether it's a council priority was the crux of this discussion tonight.
Certainly.
Yes.
Okay? Yes,
And
Dwayne?
if I could, not to belabor it, but the purpose of, for me anyway, of having a priority list is so we know what direction to even go. I mean, we can have all kinds of ideas on our own tables without coming to the council and then come to you later, but we wanted a pathway, if you will, for us to follow and try to accomplish things. And by not approving the priorities, we're not really a whole lot further than we were yesterday. We just have the list. We just have the list. And it really doesn't do us a lot of good in grant applications if the council's not behind it. So, good or bad, if we need to come back and have discussion on actual approval of priorities, we can do that too.
This whole procedure is being dissected to the point that it's about ready to get buried, I'm afraid. The motion that Walter made was to accept the report, including priorities. He simply said that these priorities are not necessarily the council's priorities, which I think I understand him to say that, is that if they suddenly came to the council with one of these and said, this is what we decide to do, and let's pick the 3rd Street Bridge, that this council may or may not approve of it. But I think that motion very definitely approves those priorities and gives the task force the ability to move forward with those priorities. That's the way I understood this 30 minutes ago.
Walter, is that the way you understand it as well?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to call for the motion.
Clear to the seconder?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
30 minutes ago.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone need that repeated before voting? And hearing no discussion, we'll start with
Well-
Tim.
Aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we discuss these task force priorities and the small-scale priorities when we decide what our council goals will be for the next year, and therefore, at that point, we can look at them
Does
closely
that need to
and
be a
decide.
motion or
That
just
doesn't, I won't support
consensus?
that motion, but I mean, we can certainly have that discussion.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that we
Okay,
do
we
that.
have Sue's motion and Tom's second. Okay, discussion. Tom?
I think it sounds great that we move this list forward to that point when we talk about
doesn't
council
get buried.
goals
This
and
way
just
it just
discuss
doesn't
it.
get buried.
We just, that way we make sure it's brought back up at that point. I don't think it's more significant than that.
Fine.
Okay, Tim?
Well, personally, I'm not going to vote for that motion because I don't want to hold them up that long. I mean, the council goals aren't for another 6 to 8 months, and so what are the
They better be before 6 or 8 months, aren't they?
No.
well, even 2 months. I don't know how long it is, but,
It'll be February or March.
okay, 3
I don't
months.
want them to stop. I don't want them to do nothing in the next 2
No,
months.
no, well, I think we agreed that the small-scale priorities were not a big deal, but the ones that are going to cost a lot of money, I think we should not bury it, not wait till the multimodal transportation plan is done in 2 years. I'd like to look at,
This-
Right.
if he's only had 30 minutes to look at them, that
You
we
bet.
need to look at them more.
Folks, this has become way more complicated than this needed to come. We've approved it. You have your priority list. I think this council has said, move forward on this, Sue. We don't need to wait 8 months down the road in order to talk about this and put it as part of council's goals, glorious goals, because I'm going to guess that in probably 8 months from now, we're not going to have any more new goals because we have so many goals that are 3 years old that we haven't even met them yet. And am I getting a little frustrated? Yeah, this is really simple. These folks worked really hard on this. We've passed it. Let's move on.
Walter?
You may remember at the last goal setting, I was the one that didn't put any new goals forward, so.
Thank you for that.
I'm on board with that. If Sue's motion was only that these be considered when the council does goal setting,
That's what I mean.
then I will vote for it. If it's more than that,
That's all I
probably not.
understood when I seconded it.
That's all I'm asking.
Any other discussion? Okay.
I'm not
Hearing
put-
none, we'll start the roll call vote with Walter.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.